It's Wednesday, April 30th, and this is today's cuss word. Welcome to today's cuss word, where this week we are serving up some short micro episodes, just reviewing some of the highlights from last Friday's longer teaching that I called The Myth of Automatic Growth. I'm Michelle Cuss, your spiritual growth coach. Let's get into it. Happy Wednesday. So my friend Shelly texted into the show the other day and said, "Ooh, I love micro nuggets." Well, thanks for the feedback, Shelly. And I love the term micro nugget. So let's keep going with this week's micro nuggets. You've probably noticed a theme this week. On Monday, we talked about how proximity to the truth does not necessarily mean formation by the truth. And then yesterday, Tuesday's episode, we explored how time alone doesn't necessarily mature us, but only grace-filled participation does. So we talked about these two things that don't necessarily lead to our spiritual growth: proximity to the truth and the passing of time. So what can we do to promote our spiritual growth? So let's take it a step further today and talk about this idea of creating sacred space. And here's today's cuss word: sacred space isn't found, it's made. So what is sacred space? Sacred space is created anytime you intentionally pause to become fully present with God. It is intentionally setting your attention and affection on Him. So it's a moment in which you slow down and purposefully set your gaze on Him. It could be a few minutes in your car. It could be at the kitchen sink while you're washing dishes. It could be on an evening walk. It could be in the quiet before you go to bed. It's any time that you say, "God, I am here. You're here. We're here together. I'm listening." And sacred space, it doesn't have to be a long time. It could just be a few minutes, whatever time you have in the day. And some of you don't have a lot. I get it. And it doesn't have to be fancy. You don't need a special candle, a special playlist. You don't need a sanctuary or some special prayer room, although all of those things are great if you want to set them up. So here's what happens when you carve out sacred space. You'll start hearing God speaking to you. Of course, God is always speaking to us, right? His communication with us never stops, but sometimes we aren't tuned into his voice. It's like one of those old radios where you turn the dial and you hear static, 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 and then boom, all of a sudden the announcer's voice comes through and becomes clear. So creating sacred space in your day tunes your heart like that radio to the God channel, and you'll soon start hearing his voice speaking to you. And it could be at random times. It might not necessarily be the time that you're creating in that sacred space or place. It could just be random times, like during a movie or while you're making dinner, or if you're like me, while you're in the shower. So growing up in God does not have to be this big, complicated thing. It just requires a little bit of our attention and our intention. So, in a world that runs on hurry and hustle and noise, creating a sacred space is radical. It is countercultural. It is this quiet rebellion against our culture of overstimulation and overconsumption of media and information. And when you create that sacred space, you are declaring, my soul, my connection with my Creator is worth more than my schedule. So I have a couple of reflection questions for you to think about today. Where can I carve out sacred space in my week, even if it's just for a few minutes? And how can I turn an ordinary place into a sacred space simply by becoming fully present with God? So, just a couple things for you to think about. And I know I said earlier that you don't need a special playlist, but just to inspire you, I'm going to link a song down in the show notes. It's a song that actually came out of our church called Make Room. And there's a lyric in that song that says, I will make room for you to do whatever you want to. And I want you to let that be your prayer today. I will make room for you to do whatever you want to. Amen? Amen. And that, Shelley, is today's micro nugget. Thanks so much for joining me today on this quick recap episode, and I will see you again tomorrow.